Hi everyone, I'm continuing with my reviews of Memoir 44 expansions, and the next one I'm going to look at is this one, which is the Mediterranean Theatre expansion, which really focuses on the North Africa campaign. And we'll have a look at what you get in the expansion, and I'll close up with some final thoughts. So first up, let's have a look at the rulebook that you get, and it follows the same format as all the rulebooks from the other expansions. So it details through any of the tile that you get and any specific rules with those. So you get a variety of different tiles, from palm, forest to oasis, roads that give a movement bonus if you move along the roads. Then any new rules to do with the specifics of the models that you get. So in this game, being a North Africa campaign, there are some rules around the British on British and Commonwealth forces. So they can sort of battle back, which is mechanics used in other Command and Colours games, for example, and goes through some of the new models that you'll get. So for example, the anti-tank gun, and the scenario that I've got on the table at the minute uses some anti-tank guns. Then any new badges, new units. So in particular, we've got the British SAS, which is cool. Some Italians as well, as you'd expect with North Africa campaign. And then the rest of the rulebook really is just going through the different scenarios and the missions that you can play. And as normal, it clearly shows you what tiles that you're going to be using, what models. So because this is an expansion pack, you'll need the original Memoir 44 game to place all the Axis forces, and then you're using the new British Commonwealth forces for that player. And I've played through all these different missions now. They're a lot of fun. They're nicely asymmetrical, especially with some of those extra rules in place. As you can tell from the nature of the theatre, the North Africa campaign, it's the desert. There's not a huge amount of terrain tiles needed for desert maps, which means that for example, this one here, you can see it's there's very few tiles. In fact, you're only using 10 tiles. Which is interesting. There's a lot less cover in this campaign, say compared to some of the other expansions. It does, on the flip side, mean that it's much quicker to set up. But it is in keeping with this sort of theatre. It's in keeping with this historical content of the game and theme of the game. This one in particular, we really enjoyed this mission quite a lot. Played that quite a few times. But you get a good number of different missions in the game, and they can all be played with this expansion, the core rule set. You will need the desert board. So thematically, if you use the board that came with the core set, the core Memoir 44 set, that doesn't have a desert side. So to make the most of the game, in keeping with the visual style of the game, you will need that desert board, and we'll have a look at that as well in a second. So yeah, good number of missions. And there's a little bit of historical content, there's special rules, anything relating to the mission, as you would expect. And we've played them all, thoroughly enjoyed them. There's a good variety. You get 8 missions in total. Obviously, there are other missions available through other websites and whatnot from enthusiasts and fans of the game. So a lot of missions to play through, and everything's well written, very clear, as you would expect. I would say, compared to maybe some of the other expansions, this expansion is quite straightforward. I found all the extra rules and scenarios and so forth very easy to explain to other players who hadn't read the rulebook. It's a very straightforward expansion. So as you can see, I've got an example of one of the missions laid out here. So let's have a look at the components quickly first. So the tiles, they look nice. They're in keeping with the game, the style of the game. So you've got, in this example, there's some road tiles there. Obviously, as I said, in North Africa campaign, fighting in the desert, there's not a huge amount of terrain tiles compared to say some of the other expansions. But those that are here in the game are very nicely done, as you would expect. The figures, the models, you get these British Commonwealth sort of Crusader tanks, and they're nicely done. The infantry figures as well. They look, and they're nice. They look great. They obviously blend in very nicely into the into the desert board that I have here. The other side of the desert board is the winter side, and it all thematically looks it's in keeping, and it's very clearly you can clearly tell the difference between the Allied forces and the Axis forces. As I said, in the expansion you don't get any Axis forces models, so they're from the core game, the actual base set. Memoir 44 base set. You also get these anti-tank weapon models. They're sort of based on a Panzerschreck Axis weapon. They look quite nice. Thematically, they're a little bit out for me because the Allied forces wouldn't really have used those, apart from maybe the odd one that they scavenged. But it's a gameplay thing really, more than a true representation of the detail of the weapons, I would say. But they add, from a gameplay point of view, they added an extra element to the game, which is very welcome. So quality components as you'd expect. This is another one of our favourite missions from this expansion. Played it quite a few times. The nice thing with this expansion, I should say, actually, there's quite a few missions with lots of tanks and armour. Again, that's reflective of the historical setting of the North Africa campaign. In fact, I think there's one mission. In fact, I know there's one mission where the Allied forces are just purely tanks, and that's in keeping with the theme, with the historical, and also from a gameplay point of view. Games of Memoir 44 with lots of tanks is great fun. It was really good. Again, like I said, all the components are top notch, as you'd expect with Memoir 44. So some final thoughts. What I liked about this, I love the theme. I love the North Africa campaign. All the models and figures and tiles, all the components are great. The scenarios add an extra. You get a load more scenarios, so that makes the game more expansive. All the extra rules and subtleties are easy to digest. They add an extra element to the game, but they don't fundamentally change the way that Memoir 44 plays. It's actually quite a good expansion to get, one of the first expansions, I think, because of that. The only thing I would say is you need to buy the desert board, which one side's the desert, the other side's the winter board. You need that really for this, because placing the desert tiles from this game, from this expansion, onto the green muddy field type board, which comes with the base game, I think would look thematically very strange. It would work from a gameplay point of view, but it would look very odd. So you just need to factor in that extra budget, not only the expansion, but also buying that board, and it's sold separately. If you already have it, no problem at all. So overall, I'll give this a big thumbs up. We've enjoyed playing all the missions. As I said a couple of times now, I particularly enjoy the North Africa campaign. It's an interesting and a very eventful part of World War II, and there's enough historical content in the expansion for me, and in enjoying the game as well. So big thumbs up for me, and if you've played it, and I'd love to know your comments and thoughts, put them in the comments section, and thank you for watching as ever.